Let's have a look at the top spells now, and let's go to the ball. And perhaps bowlers have indeed won them World Cups on crucial days. You look at Shaheen Afridi's 6 for, it wasn't to be enough for Pakistan to qualify for the semi-finals. Mitchell Stark's 5 for against New Zealand at Lords. He had a couple of key 5-ers as the game against the West Indies too, then he turned around. Lasith Malinga's 4-wicket haul, that perhaps is the key spell that set the World Cup alight, when it was going in one direction and then all of a sudden it just went crazy from there. Chris Woakes' 3 for that outclassed Australia in the second semi-final. And boy, Matt Henry with a spell that he'll remember for a long time to break the back of India's batting in the first semi at Old Trafford. Mr. Agarkar, who are you going for first?
Chris Woakes for me. I think semi-final game, losing the toss, bowling first on what was supposed to be a really good deck. Australia has never lost a semi-final. You wanted to start well. Got hit for a boundary first ball, which was a little bit full to David Warner. But after that, to produce that kind of ball against David Warner, who's in such good form, and then obviously get Stark and Hanscom, which is okay. But just to set the tone at the start in such a big game where you know that you might be under the pump a little bit if you don't get early wickets, was a special performance.
Are you going to go for Shaheen Afridi just to keep Misbah happy, or is Matt Henry part of your
For
picks?
exactly the same reasons as Ajit said, I'll go Matt Henry. I think just that crucial spell in a World Cup semi-final, defending a moderate total, how we talked about, and to get Rohit Sharma out. Rohit Sharma out with possibly the only way you can get him out is the perfect ball, just pitching it off and nicking off. So that really set up New Zealand's chances and that momentum in the semi-final. So it's only 3 wickets, but I think they're 3 incredibly important wickets.
Oh, you bet. Jimmy Neesham contributing to that when Matt Henry got the 3-wicket haul that eventually would earn him his second Man of the Match award this World Cup, and perhaps the most important one for him. And Jimmy Neesham will perhaps even feature on our list of top catchers of this tournament. You think back to that, and maybe Trent Boult, if he would have just kept his foot off the line, would have featured on this list too. He should have probably featured anyway, given that stunner he took to keep Carlos Brathwaite on the losing side in that epic game at Manchester. But Ben Stokes on the opening day of the tournament, blinder one-handed. The tournament has started and ended with Stokes' brilliance. Ravindra Jadeja is a substitute fielder in the game against England to dismiss Jason Roy of Kuldeep Yadav. Sheldon Cottrell with that outstretched left hand to get the wicket of Steve Smith running on the fine leg boundary. Martin Guptill closer in for dismissing Steve Smith. Smith himself's taken a couple that are worthy of here. And Jimmy Neesham to get Dinesh Karthik in the game that we were just talking about. You've taken one sensational catch in your life. You've taken a lot, but I remember one specific with the 2015 World Cup. I'll let you go first to pick one.
That's tricky. That is a great list of players. I think Stokes sort of set the tournament alight. I think that was a major talking point early on in the tournament, his bit of brilliance. I think they acknowledged that he might have been out of place and he may have just run in
the
a
one
little
that
bit.
he misjudged, didn't
misjudged,
then made spectacular.
But made up for it brilliantly. But I mean, I couldn't separate any of those. But Stokes, because of the way it sort of presented the tournament at the start.
I remember you taking perhaps one of the catches of the '99 World Cup, running in low down. It was subfield at the time. Yeah, I remember that one, and you stayed your ground. So you've taken your share of brilliant ones. And which one?
Yeah, we could have added a couple more today from New Zealand actually.
Yes.
From Lockie and Saudi, both exceptional under pressure. I think Cottrell for me, just for the sheer brilliance, what he did on that boundary, one-handed, then to keep his balance, I think flick it back, and then still almost nonchalantly run back and take it. So incredible. I think he's taken one more, brilliant, but just great skill there. Yeah.